Welcome to a mini video podcast on teaching creativity to gifted students. Here are some questions that I hope to answer through this podcast. What does it mean to teach creativity to gifted students? How is teaching creativity different from basic schooling? What is the difference between teaching creativity and creatively teaching? What are some benefits of teaching creativity? How do you incorporate creativity in curriculum and instruction? What are some practical tips for teaching creativity? Now let's get started. What does it mean to teach creativity? First, let's look at what creativity means. Google defines creativity as the use of imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. When we think of a person being creative, we think of artwork or something that they handmade or something that they cooked. Ideas can also be creative. From an educational perspective, Dean Keith Simonton talked about the four aspects of creativity as being cognitive, differential, developmental, and social. Cognitive creativity can be the ideas and thoughts of a person. Differential creativity is the focus on developing something unique. Developmental creativity can be seen as the progressive nature of something, and social creativity is mainly creating innovative ideas of how to socialize. As you can see, there's no one definition for creativity. Hence, teaching creativity is very broad and cannot be captured in one sentence. Gary A. Davis came up with the 7 forms of teaching creativity: providing a creative atmosphere, stimulating thinking, encouraging original thinking, using a discovery method of teaching and learning, creative coursework, teaching problem-solving methods, and teaching systematic methods for generating new and creative combination of ideas. Another definition of creativity is by the authors of the article Creative Teaching, Teaching Creativity. According to them, creativity is a state of mind in which all of our intelligence are working together, such as social and scientific innovations. Basically, teaching creativity is teaching your students in a way that you develop lifelong thinkers and innovators both artistically and scientifically. This is especially important for gifted students knowing their capacity to be inventive and academically driven. Now let's look at how teaching creativity is different from regular schooling. According to Joyce Van Tassel-Baska and Tamra Stambo, the 5 major differences of creativity-focused curriculum and a regular curriculum are the following. Work autonomy. In a creativity-based curriculum, students are taught in a way that they feel like they are planning their own work and they're making their own decisions. Time allocation. To teach creativity, teachers need to provide their gifted students with a lot of time for their projects and assignments to invite new ideas and increase potential creativity. Mentors. Having a mentor will help gifted students increase their chances of being more creative and thinking at a higher level. Supportive environment. A learning environment that supports creativity is something that is unique to teaching creativity. Even though basic schooling has a lot of supportive environment, creativity-based curriculum is more broad and stimulating for the creative gifted students. Use of creative skills. The most important thing to remember in teaching a creative curriculum is to allow your students to be flexible. This will be an invitation to creativity. What is the difference between teaching creativity and creatively teaching? Teaching creativity is preparing students to become creative. Creatively teaching is the process of using creative ways to teach students. To date, there is no discrete method of training teachers to be creative. Unfortunately, teachers are on their own to think of creative ways to teach. The authors of Teaching Creativity suggests that teachers need to develop a full repertoire of skills, which they can adapt and apply in different situations. Teaching creativity and creatively teaching go hand in hand. In fact, teaching creativity is only possible when teachers adapt creative methods to teach. What are some benefits of teaching creativity? Dorothy Lasky and Susan A. Yoon suggest 4 major benefits of teaching creativity. Number 1. It teaches students how to succeed at the workforce and eventually they can compete at a global scale. Number 2, it increases interest in academics and knowledge in general. This helps developing a positive identity. Gifted students who have behavioral issues can also benefit from a creative curriculum. Number 3, it develops students' cognitive, emotional, and social skills. Number 4, it encourages good citizenship and therefore creates a better world. The authors of Comprehensive Curriculum for Gifted Learners state that teaching creativity benefits students by promising a lifetime creative achievement. How do you incorporate creativity in curriculum and instruction? The main thing to remember in teaching creativity is to create a healthy social environment that cultivates innovative ideas and thoughts that further transform into tangible inventions. Lasky and CUIN suggest 3 themes of teaching creativity. Number 1 is space making. This means giving students time and space to explore and satisfy their curiosity. Number 2 is creative recognition. It is important for teachers to firstly recognize gifted students, then recognize gifted creative students to completely fill their cognitive brains, so to speak. Number 3 is utility. This factors completely depend on the teacher. If the teacher thinks that creativity is important, it will be evident in his or her classroom. It is up to the teacher to create that creative classroom space that gifted students need to become creative, or at least geared towards creativity. There are 9 strands of incorporating creativity in curriculum and instruction according to Van Tassel, Baska, and Stambo. These are pretty straightforward. Creative expression. This means exposing students to different forms of artwork. Aptitude and interest matches. A careful observation of students can determine their interests, which in turn helps the teacher modify curriculum accordingly. Links to profession. It is important to develop a curriculum that encourages the next generation of professionals, especially successful professionals, that will make an impact on a societal level. Reading of biographies. Reading biographies of successful innovators, inventors, or any other creative minds will stimulate creativity in students. Academic counseling. Even though counseling and mentoring may seem similar, counseling deals with the behavioral, social, and emotional side of students. We know that gifted students and twice exceptional students are in need of social and emotional guidance. Academic counseling can help in identifying interests and building motivations in creative students. Multiple options and outlets for creativity. Assigning various types of assignments and projects can help with teaching creativity. This means giving your students more options. Emphasis on metacognition. This is basically content-based knowledge of any subjects. Teachers must focus on the subject that their students show most interest in. This develops creativity as well. Open-ended activities and approaches. Like I mentioned before, open-ended and flexibility allows room for creativity to surface through. Emphasis on targeted extracurricular options. The targeted extracurricular options means having students participate in creative events such as art competitions, creative writing contests, drama clubs, and many more. So, what are some practical tips for teaching creativity? Teachers can be creative when teaching creativity, pun unintended. Some practical tips are to communicate with other teachers, especially art, drama, or music teachers, even artists, to gain some knowledge on creativity. There's a known connection between the subject of science and creativity. Science students have a lot of potential to become creative. This is much needed if you look at it from a futuristic point of view. We always need cures for diseases, and scientists are pretty much very creative in a way. Field trips can promote creativity. Virtual field trips are when a classroom visits an educational center virtually, through Skype or any other social media. Even inviting guest speakers can help. Hands-on activities and group work can promote creativity. It is important also to create and execute surveys and questionnaires to understand your students better. This will help in developing a concrete, creative curriculum. Social media. This is a huge one. It requires a whole podcast on its own. There are so many ways teachers can teach creativity using social media. Pinterest is a big one that comes to my mind. It has thousands of ideas on teaching creativity. I encourage all of your teachers to check it out. Going back to the difference between teaching creativity and creatively teaching, to further explain the difference between teaching creativity and creative teaching, I will read a quote from an article by Bob Jeffrey and Anna Kraft. The NACCCE, which stands for the National Advisory Committee on Creative and Cultural Education, made a distinction in 1999 between teaching creatively and teaching for creativity in its characterization of creative teaching. The former, teaching creatively, is defined as using imaginative approaches to make learning more interesting and effective. The latter, teaching for creativity, is defined as forms of teaching that are intended to develop young people's own creative thinking or behavior. This kind of shows the importance of teaching for creativity because it has a huge effect and impact on future generations. Before I conclude, I'd like to share with you an article by Peter H. Reynolds. He's an author, an illustrator, a speaker, an educator, and a creative being, as he calls himself. I got this article from a website called Imagination Soup, and the article is titled 10 Ways to Nurture Creativity. The first way is to model it. This depends on the teachers. They need to model creativity and be creative themselves in order for their students to gain that creativity. Number two is to be proud. You need to show your art and creativity and your innovative ideas and thoughts with your students so that they can learn from you. Number three is to stock up. I guess he means by stocking up, he means just having a lot of resources in your classroom to stimulate that creative activities with your students. Number four is to get inspired and be inspiring to your students. Number five is to share, and share. Tell your stories to everyone and ask for stories to your colleagues and your other teachers. Number six is to celebrate originality. Original artwork should be appreciated, and your students' artwork is especially of much importance. So Peter Reynolds suggests that putting up artwork on the walls encourages your students to be creative. And we're not just talking about artwork, but any original ideas or any original work of your students can go up on the walls of your classroom. Number seven is to create your creative oasis. He means getting close to the nature and mixing up with the culture and just kind of turning away from technology and engaging in creative and natural activities. Number eight is to infuse the arts in unexpected places. This can mean just being creative at home and sharing it with your students. Like I said before, you can be creative in your cooking, you can be creative at home. I do a lot of Pinterest projects at home, and that's my way of being creative, I guess. Number nine is to set up your studio, just a space where you can show off your creativity. And the students will definitely learn from you because they can go home and do the same thing in their rooms and at their homes, just having their own space to engage in that creative activities. And number 10 is to make it matter, to just, your ideas and your thoughts, just make it happen. Implementing your creative ideas again is a great way just to be creative and just to inspire your students to be creative as well. So I'll conclude by saying teaching creativity will eventually benefit future generations. With so many problems and issues around the world, we cannot deny the help of creative thinkers, new ideas, and innovative products to help us through. Here's a list of the references that I have used for this podcast. I wish all the teachers, parents, and educators good luck in teaching creativity and being creative.